Yo ho ho! What's going on, boys? This is Grim Reaper bringing you One Punch Man. Now, it's been a few weeks, approximately 4 weeks, since we've done a podcast. Probably even more than that because 3 chapters have come out. Coincidentally, 172, 173, 174. So we'll be discussing and covering those chapters here in this discussion. Like the video and subscribe. In the description, you can find the links to everybody who speaks here their channels, so you can hear them speak more about different topics, including One Punch Man. Let me just start off by saying the arc was spectacular. I'm not sure, I don't remember if this is the first time we've all been back together since the end of the arc. I know we did a whole podcast where, like, I think me and Matt, like, kind of riffed back and forth about, like, the good things that we saw in the arc. But can I just say that, like, we're still in the aftermath. Please anticipate more content, at least from me, regarding the end of the arc, like top 10s, who did the best, strongest this or that, most impressive that or this. Like, anticipate videos like that coming from me pretty soon, here in December. But how do you guys feel about, like, what's going on right now in reference to the end of the arc? Like, are you understanding that it's, like, you know, chill and that we're winding down? Do you feel like we're building up for something else here with these next 3 chapters? How do you feel the end of this arc is gonna, like, continue to affect us? Like, do you think that there should be, or there are gonna be some lingering, like, feelings? And I'm not talking about just the fact that Garou is still alive, but, like, things that happen there. I know 173 talks about that a little bit in reference to, like, Zombie Man and God in general, but, like, how do you feel about the end of this arc and what we're doing right now?
I definitely think that everything that we've seen so far is showing us that we're building up to something. As far as, like, there's definitely something going on with Sweet Mask because he's been getting a lot of focus. We saw last chapter that Fubuki is meeting with somebody, and honestly, I haven't really taken the time to sit back and think about who she could be meeting with that deep, but there's something going on with her. And then, of course, going on with Saitama is him being assimilated to A class. So, and hopefully they focus on stuff that he can do as a A class hero now. I want to see him actually do A class hero work instead of just what Saitama does. He drifts around, does his own thing. I kind of want to see, like, what's the ramifications of him being in this position he's in now. So yeah, I definitely think there's a build up right now. These chapters haven't been too climactic, but that's obviously by design. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had to me, because you talked about, like, a cooldown build up. Like, I feel like the cooldown was, like, the 2 chapters where, Saitama, where we learned Saitama joined the A class and, like, the fight against the robots, because 173 in particular, and I know, like you said beforehand, this is one you really want to talk about. So much happened in that 1 chapter. Like, just jumping into the next arc is going to be huge. Like, there's just a big focus right now, at least to me, like, of characters learning about Saitama, like Metal Knight and My Mask. The other 8, I guess, like, really, there's focus on, like, Forte, I think his name is, like, him, like, trying to be like, who is this guy? There's a lot of focus on Saitama right now in terms of people learning about him. Sitch, Zombie Man as well. Yeah, I mean, end of the arc, fine. Yeah, I like that Rover. I like he's got Rover as a pet. It's funny. I like that Black Sperm's a pet. For some reason, Saitama sees him a monkey. That's fine. I'm ready for the next stuff though, because they're really starting to build up with what happened in 173.
Yep, agree with Matt. I've been perfectly fine with most of the stuff that's gone on. I'm not too sure what I thought about our boy Black Sperm surviving, but it is what it is. And yeah, the way it's moving now with everybody clocking on to Saitama being at least a little bit more powerful, because I don't think they still, especially like people like Amai, I don't think they still quite understand how powerful he is. Mm-hmm. Then we got people like Flash who's clocking on quite quickly. because he was actually with Saitama while things were happening. I'm actually surprised Flashy Flash doesn't have a better idea, because he was actually keeping up with Flash. That should be like the peak of performance for someone like Flash. But then we have Zombie Man, who seems to be quite suspicious as well, because he spoke to the scientist. And then, yeah, Metal Knight seems to probably have the best idea, because he had all those levels of robots. But even then, I think they only went up to, what was it, demon level? So he knows that Saitama is at least powerful enough to take several demons at the same time. But yeah, so I'm happy with the way that it's going. And then the whole thing with kind of this interest around God actually being spoken about, I really like the fact that they didn't just kind of gloss over it, and kind of Genos would be the only one that was aware of it. Saitama's forgotten about it, and Garou's forgotten about it. I really like the fact that they have these kind of separate allocations or separate instances of God being experienced by someone or near to someone in the story, like for instance Zombie Man. And now they're kind of piecing together who this is and how it's affected people, for instance Blast, but we'll get to that as we kind of go through the story.
I agree wholeheartedly with all of you guys. The whole Saitama finally getting some recognition after just kind of being, straight joke character for the most part. At least that's the view that most of those around him, give him. But yeah, Blast stuff is going to be your big meat and potatoes kind of story builder, but Saitama coming up in the world is also going to be a fun plot point. The few characters that are really starting to, come into the Saitama is more than he appears camp, I'm interested to the grouping. We've got the gatekeeper of Amai Mask, so he's probably going to be watching Saitama because it's like, oh, this son of a bitch all of a sudden gets a higher ranking, thinks he's going to go to S-Class, I bet, real soon. Well, I'm probably going to test that. And then Metal Knight, always being up on the latest crap anyway, he's probably more interesting because we don't really get to see him in person that often. Isn't that the first full-on appearance of him we've ever had?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the first time we've seen Metal Knight's face.
I was honestly a little disappointed with that. Don't get me wrong, it was hype. It was hype. I'm saying that the amount of hype that it was, I wanted more. Like, the fact that we were getting such sparse instances of him, that mystique is fitting for the character. And I think the more or the longer we keep that mystique, because even this recent reveal didn't really give us the biggest insight into Metal Knight. As long as we keep that mystique until we actually get a full head-on involvement of Metal Knight in the storyline, where he has active dialogue for multiple chapters, he's involved in the resolution of a problem, and we acknowledge him, I think he should be in the background. Whenever his Metal Knight drone showed up to help Genos against the meteor, that was badass. And then he popped out right away. I liked that. The fact that he's not there to play around, we're not there to see all of his quirkiness or anything like that, that's what I appreciate about the character so far. Same thing with Watchdog Man. A lot of Watchdog Man's appeal is not just in the funny and characteristic or I don't know if that's the word. The descriptive moniker, if it were, of being the protector of Q City. Besides that, we don't really know much or anything about him. He wears a kinky, weird dog suit. He's a furry, basically. Usually this wouldn't be an individual who we would hype up, but solely because of the mystery, the sparse attention we give to him, and his feats that are blatant, this character is beloved and anticipated greatly. I can't wait till we get to a Watchdog arc. I can't wait till we get to a Metal Knight arc. But don't make these guys don't give them the Child Emperor treatment. I don't want that. I don't want that. Don't do it to him. Leave him alone.
I'm just going to jump in very quickly. Just from his intro, though. From his face, I felt like his intro was completely different to most people because a lot of people like, who is this? Like just looking at Saitama, like, who is this guy? I don't know what's going on with him. But within the space of 3 pages, he basically deduced this guy's as strong as S-Class, if not he's stronger. And he doesn't waste any time. Like other characters are like, he's strong, but he's not as strong as the S-Class heroes. Like he immediately looks at all the records, goes, oh, there's something about this guy, which I think is great as a different take because everyone else is like, oh, he's only special because he hangs around the S-Class heroes. Whereas Metal Knight actually went, no, he's different than the S-Class heroes hang around him. In a way, yeah.
So, I think previously in the last podcast, one of the big points of contention was whether Black Sperm was actually going to be friendly with Saitama. So many individuals have fought Black Sperm, if not the entirety of the Hero Association. So for him to come in and have a disguise, and then what happens here in this chapter was ridiculous. Well, any thoughts or any like ideas or like future speculation on not only like the fact that he's convincing Saitama that he's a monkey, but the different possible interactions that he's going to encounter? Like, is this going to be Black Sperm charging up and getting stronger for later on and then escaping to show up and be a big part of the story later on? Like, is this why we're going to get to see, or is this how we're going to get to see more of Golden and Platinum potentially in the future? Like, is this going to be narratively how One and Murata use a previous standard in the series and compare it to the new standard? Or is Platinum and Golden, are Platinum and Golden going to get clapped by the next big bad? Is that why they're staying alive? What's going through your head with Black Sperm being around here?
You gonna hate this one, Grim. Yo, Black Sperm has 2 paths to take at this current juncture. Either he's going to become Crocodile, in that he's down right now, but eventually he's going to regain all his power and then become a prominent villain again. Or he's going to become Tony Chopper and become a mascot / gag character.
I'll drop.
Not.
Get ready to drop.
Everybody had it here.
Get ready to drop.
Like I'll drop fast as hell, bro.
That would be amazing though if he became like, rather than Rover, who's a cute little dog, Black Sperm becomes the mascot of One Punch Man.
Oh my god, dude! It's like Ringu in a onesie. Imagine that as the mascot.
Black Sperm, the mascot of One Punch Man. Come on, bro. Like, let's stop pretending here. Like, I'll give you this. It's happening literally on the screen with Rover. Like, if I was really gonna drop, I would have already dropped. But Rover was that thing, bro. Like, till this day, I don't even like. It's so hard to look back on it now. I was gonna say that to this day the fight is still gas, and it is. Don't get me wrong, but I can't pretend like my perspective hasn't been dampened when I see Black Sperm riding on his back and he was fucking like being picked up by Saitama. Like, come on, bro. What is this? This is the vicious Rover, bro. You out here throwing horns at his ass. He gonna light you up, bro. Like,
I don't know what the problem with Rover. He's got the strongest guard dog in the world. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Rover can like go back to that form at some point. Imagine like someone tries to break into Saitama's apartment when he's not there, and Rover's there, and he starts to hulk out.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen. That's been my idea of it.
That's my hope. That's my hope. But
I would be very surprised if Rover doesn't go back to some giant monster form at some point.
Sundown Keishan?
Yeah, I'm hoping they're not used as just mascots. I mean, like, thinking of little kind of Asian kids to begin with in Japan lining up outside a store waiting to like buy Black Sperm. I don't know, that just doesn't sit right. But yeah, so yeah, I'm hoping, like Matt was saying, I'm hoping we get Rover, at the very least Rover, hulking out at some point. maybe we're going to get a little bit more around kind of their story with Saitama. Maybe they build a better relationship. I don't see Black Sperm building a better relationship with Saitama. He seems to be kind of a more coarse type of character. But Rover just seems to be kind of vibing. He's chilling. So yeah, I'm hoping he kind of at least makes a return. I'm not sure if we'll get like any insight into how they'll both kind of get back to their former glory. Because Black Sperm seems to, I'm pretty sure in a previous chapter he was just indicating he needs time to basically just chill and kind of recover his cells, maybe.
Yeah.
So if that's all he needs to do, he's chilling, bro, because he's staying next to Saitama, and Saitama's basically his guard dog, so he's good.
I mean, right now, because we were talking about Mob before we started the podcast, like he gives me very like Dimple vibes from Mob, Black Sperm, where he's like, I'm gonna make my move, just I'm not strong enough to do it right yet, so I'm just buying my time until I can.
That's a great comparison.
Yeah, very apt right there.
Well, it could even be a case where, and this is obviously like, this is if absolute pandemonium were to occur, where God offers both of them kind of a contract and says, yo, you're chilling in the hero facility right now. That would be the perfect storm, right? Black Sperm gets like mad abilities, Rover gets mad abilities, and they just go apeshit in the hero association, where there are now apparently all these kind of rich man them that have just bought these houses. That'd be pretty cool.
It's
uranium sperm.
Hey, whoa.
It's a great way to speculate, especially in that reference, because 173, to skip ahead for a second, we've got some strong context that, like, or at least the series is now officially declaring, because the only other time we got this was with Dr. Genus, but now Sitch is officially declaring that pretty much anybody can turn into a monster, and this is information that we can almost confirm to be the case, because not only have we seen this through anecdotal evidence, but Sitch is saying that they have to act on this information. It's just saying that we have to hide the information from the public because we need a plan ahead of time. And the reality is that, yes, almost anybody can turn into a monster for any reason. I mentioned this with what Sundown said, because if God is somehow involved in the increase of the appearances of these monsters, which is also talked about in 173, and if he's also offering special power to certain individuals, then, like, is everybody getting their power from God? Is he, like, somehow influencing people, like, through their emotions? Because that's actually the only consistent argument I've ever heard for what to consider or what to label God's, like, tendencies so far for who he's offering power. He's going off of those who have strong emotions. So,
I mean, that's right. There's obviously just been a lot of times where people are transformed because of strong emotions or like obsessions. Like, even just like as a joke, you look at like Crablante, who was like, I ate so much crab, I became a crab. Like, it's like an obsession to them that they are that. And we've talked about this before with like Homeless Emperor going to kill himself, and like Phoenix Man, like, you know, losing his job and like being treated like absolute filth when he gave it their all. There's definitely connections there. And then it kind of adds up with the timeline, because like if Blast has been chasing after God for about 20 years, like in one of the early chapters, like when Saitama was in middle school, which would be about like 10 years ago, like monsters are slowly becoming like more frequent then. They make a note that like it's not like a common thing, but like a couple monsters a year kind of thing, if I remember. It like takes like the army and the police to team up to take care of like it's not even like high, it's like a tiger level threat.
I mean, I don't know. We're gonna get a chance to elaborate more upon it, because there's more to that, and that's actually gonna be really, really interesting to see if because we're talking about from chapter 1 till right now 174. that every single thing that's been in the storyline has been affiliated with God. Every single thing.
Actually, this might just me being stupid. Do we know that? So like all the other monsters that were born of just kind of like passion, like Crablante and stuff, were they direct contact with God, or were they just monsterification via another kind of similar means?
Well, that's the argument now that, according to Sitch, or I think it was Sitch, or Blast, there's a lot more influence now from God's dimension. And as we know, the appearances of monsters has been steadily increasing, of people turning into monsters through monsterification. So, even though correlation is not causation, could it not be said that there's a correlation between the increase in interference by God in our dimension in general and the number of spontaneous monsterizations amongst random people?
Definitely a correlation, but I think it's important to note in the Garou story himself, he was monsterifying pretty dramatically without the intervention of God, and it was only in the kind of end phase of his monsterification where he kind of signed or touched God's hand. So there's still what that shows to me is there's still the pathway of becoming a monster, which is probably the most common option, which is kind of that similar pattern to Garou. And then only the best of the best, or the people most likely to be like vessels for God, would be the ones that were...
Was Homeless the best of the best?
Well, actually, no, he wasn't.
Was Monaco the best? That's what I'm saying. There's the only thing consistent about who he's offering to is feelings. People who are who have their emotions out, or are very emotional, in tune with their emotions, or out of control emotionally. Besides the one time where we saw flashy Monaco and Saitama physically, I guess, inquire with the cube instead of the cube coming to them, or instead of God coming to them. So to go back to what you were saying there, Sundown, before you go, Matt. Yes, there is the normal form of monsterization that we've been seeing throughout the series from day one, from all kinds of individuals, from Tongue Stretcher to whoever you wanted to to whoever you want to decide. Yes, we do have those certain instances of like Deep Sea King and Beefcake who are either natural monsters like Pureblood as well, or some type of lab creation experiment, not necessarily associated with monsterization. But the main instances are monsterization. People spontaneously turning into monsters because of crazy emotions or whatever the attachment is, like in Phoenix Man's case. The argument is, are those instances of monsterization due to the influence or increased influence of God? Is it like some God-like radiation that's spilling through now from his dimension that's affecting us and giving us a form of cancer or turning into monsters? Is that what's happening? Has that been happening since the beginning of the storyline? Or have there always been monsters in One Punch Man?
Well, we know there's like pure monsters, because like we've got like Pureblood, for example. Like Pureblood's a monster who wasn't from God, but has been around he makes it sound like he's been around forever, right? And we obviously know like there's prophecies about God. Like we know like when we had the underground fight with Orochi, we saw that prophecy of God as well. Yeah, like of like Orochi being sacrificed up to summon God, pretty much. I think you're on the right track, at least, because I agree with you in the sense that maybe it's like the influence of like God or God's dimension that is causing monsterization to be a thing that can happen. But with recent events happening, like, and they just basically say in 173 that it's because of like Saitama is the reason that God is showing up a bit more.
Yes, but again, not again. Directly to answer this point, the chapter I don't remember specified that it was the fact that it was the current fight that he's now drawing more attention, whether he's been watching them this entire time. Because remember, Saitama got this strong. He was not this strong always. He turned this strong. So it's not as if like Yeah, I can't. I don't think I can complete the idea because I don't think there's a strong enough argument there to say that like it's only because Saitama exists. It has to be when Saitama became strong, so or something. It has to be something changed in Saitama's life that caused this. Because we could say that there's like some inherent drive or fire that Saitama has, which is the reason why he was able to become this strong in the first place through working out, that God is attuned to or coming after or being attracted to. Okay, fine, but was that always there? Why wasn't God doing this from way back then? How old is Saitama? Like, because we can say that the monsters that are naturally in the world of One Punch Man, which I can agree, we have had it confirmed with Deep Sea King and Pure Blood that monsters do naturally occur and exist in One Punch Man outside of monstrification, outside of people turning into monsters. But that's the reason for there to be heroes like Blast way back then. Aside from that, there wasn't a reason for Saitama to, turn that strong or do that thing to Crablante. Like, are we gonna say that God was sitting there causing Crablante to turn, or causing the guy who turned into Crablante to be radiated or sending radiation or interfering for a Saitama who wasn't even a hero yet?
I mean, maybe. I mean, like, the idea of, like, maybe pure monsters might not even necessarily be a thing. If, like, I kind of lost trail with my thought earlier, but when you've got, like, I meant by what I should have said is with that kind of prophecy of God showing up, if God has shown up in the past, maybe that's why there's pure-bred monsters, because he's shown up in the past and monsters came by then.
Damn, bro. So we dropping the theory that God is the origin of even original monsters in the series.
He could be. Like, it's so difficult. He's such a mystery of a being. Because there's that, and then of course, let's not forget, he's in the moon for some reason. Like, and we don't really know why.
Well, something's in the moon.
Something's in the moon. We assume I assume it's God because God is related. Like, there's a lot of symbolism with God and the moon, and obviously God dropped the moon. Something is in the moon. I'm going off my personal opinion to say that's probably God, and I don't know why he's in there or how. It's a difficult one, isn't it, boys?
Bro, that's like fucking Titans in the Wall type shit, bro. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of, because like a lot of the speculation comes from the fact that this has all been prophesized beforehand, so it suggests that there has been previous interaction with God. At least some sort of previous interaction with God to the extent that they know that he requires a vessel of some kind. So then when it comes to things like vessels, then it suggests that, God has been keeping a relatively close, quote-unquote, eye, I mean, the moon looks like one, on the whole of society, waiting for some sort of vessel to pop up. And maybe that's why he's been kind of handpicking these different types of people to bestow his power upon, or his curse upon. But then you do make a good question in the sense of, but then why homeless? He wasn't exactly exceptional. But then there were people like Blast, who he did try to offer a contract with, as we'll get to. And now we have Saitama, and I think it would probably be fair to say that the monsterizations have been definitely beginning more aggressive since Saitama's reached full power, because, well, to our knowledge, they're the only Dragon Plus level threats that we've ever seen in terms of Homeless Emperor, Black Sperm, all these guys. But to say that they existed only when Saitama got powerful would probably be a reach. There's no real evidence to say that. So you could argue either way, really. But yeah, I think it's difficult when we're talking about God and kind of where he originated from, what his main goals are. All we know is that he seems to be searching for a vessel.
Stupid theory coming your way. It's not a podcast without one. Okay, you talk about the purebred monsters being a product of God. Well, that works, sure. What if a cult-like status is put upon ancient humans that would have created said ruins? And after their probable contact with God, he was like, I will bestow power upon you. Well, power comes in weird ways. You don't really seem to get to pick what you get. Or at least we haven't really seen too much evidence to that. So what if he just gave the monstrification itself as that power? Hence why it's rather random amongst any individual.
So this is God's power to humanity, the ability to turn into monsters?
Possibly. And then it's spread out through all of humanity up to this point. Because we don't know how old those ruins are. But given how deep down they are probably a few thousand years old. And with, monstrification being as diverse as it is, you're going to get quite the results from people.
It both clashes and has an interesting twist to it, because it would be some sneak shit, some top tier sneak shit for God to have contacted ancient tribes about this prophecy and everything, and then given them this power to monstrify. But subtly, this power to monstrify is also what's tearing apart the barrier between dimensions or some shit like that. Like, maybe that would be some badass shit, or maybe it's helping somehow God get a vessel here like he's trying to get. That would be some badass shit. I could definitely see that. But the whole thing,
monsters come from. Say certain families, they start to monstrify. And then they start interbreeding with other similar powered, or, like they're looking to make like the ultimate vessel to then offer it up to God who gave them this power.
Low key too, bruh. I was gonna say that this theory clashes with the whole like narrative of God trying to destroy humanity, but it low key doesn't, because these monsters are killing people. So like, these people turning into monsters is doing nothing but helping God. So like, bruh, low key that theory. Niggas is out here dropping credible ass theories today, bruh. Like, what if God is the reason for all monsters, including the purebred ones? And what if monsterization is a gift given to humans by God in order to kill them all?
I mean, that line of theory, I'd say, makes sense in like an influence way, because if you think, I don't know, like when you think of like myths and legends from like, I think of like Greek ones, for example. Like, it's not very often like the Greek gods would get involved in stories, right? But like they choose like a champion or a hero to do that. So maybe it's like in a similar way where like in ancient times, God was worshipped like a god. And he was like, oh, you'll be my champion. You'll be my vessel. Whereas God was actually like, yeah, you're just going to eventually, you will be a body for me to take over.
Pure blood might just be a final version of what that like mingling of the tribes, as you like to say, Grim, where eventually you just ended up with what we view as just a standard vampire.
I mean, there's definitely something there, Keishan, because like when the Subterraneans first showed up, they were saying we're the true humans, true humanity, and obviously under the ground, that's where the prophecy for God was too. So
I don't know. There's more. We're gonna get to expand upon that more. I know we just dropped into a little bit too, is right there, but let's keep pushing through 172 so we can get to 173 for real, because there's more there. We talked about before how the Hero Association's main base is for A class and above. So if you're B and below, fuck you. The heroes are here also now, I guess because they're trying to raise more funds or whatever. They're now going to start to be living with the civilians. And they're not regular civilians, these are the rich. The absolute rich. The people like Waganma's dad. Maybe not as wealthy as him, but you know what's going on.
I'm in there too if you look closely. We get money out here too.
Niggas out here trying to get protected and shit. So I think this is like interesting. I like how we're building it like this. I would have hoped that there would have been more than just one main facility or one super fortress. I do like the fact that it's centralized here, but I don't know. Z City is like, or the outskirts are fucked, for a lack of a better word to use there. But regardless of the case, there's always been commentary in the series about like the corruptness of the rich and the exploitation of heroes. Did you guys get that feeling here, or like, is this? Did you kind of see it as like, because there was a whole lot of gray going on in these past few chapters, in my opinion, in terms of morality. Like, is it more so that these people are paying rent just like any other apartment, and that just happens to be in a very luxurious place that has tremendous security, that just happens to be the other residents because they're living there for free? Like, if you go to an apartment, the maintenance guy is probably living in that same apartment complex and for a much discounted price. So, like, is it okay to see it that way, or is it more of, hey, these rich people, these dirty, corrupt rich, are coming here to basically turn these heroes into slaves? Oh, protect me, do this for me because I'm rich. Like, how are you taking the context of 172 and the advent of the association now offering living space to civilians as well as heroes?
There's like two parts of the corruption. It goes both on the rich and the hero association, because first, the hero association is complacent with it. I mean, they're the ones that are allowing that to happen. Like, they can throw as much money as they want to. Sponsors can pull out if they want to, say we're not going to fund you anymore, but they still ultimately make the decision. So they're the ones that are allowing this to happen. And then the rich people are just, they're concerned about their own well-being. And it's just not ethical to have all these A-class heroes. Like, these are some of the best of the best. These are the best of the best, except, you know, of course, disregarding the S-class. So to have them all concentrated in one area to protect these select few people who are making money, that's not a good thing. The heroes are supposed to be for the people, and it kind of just it completely like dampens their motive as heroes. So I'm sure that we'll see some friction when it comes to the heroes, and we already actually did. But maybe we'll see some more. Maybe some heroes will opt out of being in this whole system. But yeah, it goes to show you that, I mean, this is how it is in the real world too. A lot of times, just the rich get a lot of different privileges, and yeah, I definitely think it was intentional too. I don't think this was just a thing that we're looking deep into. Like, the Hero Association has been shown to be a little shady. And we saw that last arc, actually, with the whole Narinki group SWAT thing. Because it's like, you know, he is making a whole bunch of money. He's a big contributor for them. And then they assign Metal Bat to protect him and his kid. Like, Metal Bat. Think about how crazy that is.
In some ways, you just kind of wonder, like, was Garou right? It's because, like, one of Garou's main things was he wanted to try and unify humanity, like the rich and the poor. And obviously he failed, but like, now that he's failed, it seems like the gap between the rich and the poor is going to get wider. Just like Satsuki was, from the point Satsuki mentioned before, you know, like, the rich are being looked after by the Hero Association because they're the top donators, whereas the poor, or the average person, I mean, if they die, they die.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're seeing this as kind of heroes being granted a safe haven place to live. I'm not sure if they're actually paying rent. They might be. And then as kind of their side mission or side quest, they're protecting the rich. But it could have very well been the ulterior motive all along, which is the upper kind of the higher powers within the Hero Association were just like, hey, look, we need to protect the rich. Why not have somewhere where the heroes can stay, where their primary task would be to protect the rich? So like Satsuki and Matt were saying, it's rotten to the core, especially when the rest of like humanity is gonna get clapped by however many monsters appear to them, especially if they're in the outer skirts like Z City, and all the A class, S class heroes, even some of the B class heroes, are concentrated around the center of this this fortress, really, which already has Metal Knight's protection, which is kind of, you know, it's if you've got all these robots basically able to fight up to a demon and above, and they're still afraid of what's going to come at them, whereas everybody else is living with none of that protection, no S class, no A class, then it just kind of shows, you know, what the Hero Association's priorities are. And it makes sense to a degree from like a business perspective. If they protect the rich, they get more funding to do the protecting that they've been doing. But it also is kind of that rotten element where it's like, yeah, but everybody else is dying because you're like miles and miles away from them.
I want to quickly add too. I just want to say, I think we're making it seem like black and white, like they're just evil. But the Hero Association, at least on their side, they need the funding, because we saw in chapter 172 those robots that Metal Knight had cost 9 billion each to develop. So the Hero Association isn't just like doing this out of their own, like part of it is their own interest, but part of it is too because they had to like fund some of these heroes for like certain things like that. So it's not completely like they're bad, but they're definitely shady.
Rich people always have ulterior motives. In the case of organizations that usually provide, you know, unique services, they're even worse.
So Saitama walks into the association, and I guess Black Sperm and Rover trigger the robots. Not only do we get a claim from Metal Knight that, and the association apparently, that this system of robots is probably more competent than all of the A class, but that the strongest of his drones of this defense system can take on 2 demons simultaneously and be okay. How does that change your viewpoint of Metal Knight? Like, are you still waiting for more? Has the fact that we've gotten like a knight that can like assault a meteor, confront EC, like, and now do this, apparently take on 2 demons at the same time? Like, is that what's building your perspective of Metal Knight, or do you have like something big in the back of your head that's still to come? Like, what's, I know I talked about earlier about the mystique behind Metal Knight. They're still being there, and it, to me, in my opinion, being important to maintain that until we get a full display. But what do you currently feel about Metal Knight?
He ugly as hell. That's the first thing I noticed when I seen 173. I said, "God damn!" Like, we already seen the teeth, so the teeth wasn't anything unexpected. I was like, but damn, bro, they're not doing him any favors, bro. And then and then too, like, he can't just go around and like get holes off his name because they're not gonna believe him. Like, oh, I'm Metal Knight. Hey, bro, I thought Metal Knight was a robot. What the fuck you talking about? You ain't Metal Knight.
It's very true.
It's sad. I mean, he could create a robot and say that he's Metal Knight, but damn, man. But as far as like, you know, like some real shit, I don't think anything has changed. Like, I thought that he would be capable of creating robots like that. If anything, I think him seeing what Saitama is capable of, maybe like he'll take that as a challenge to create something even stronger. So maybe this was just like, you know, sharpen his mind even more.
I mean, just because we're talking about Metal Knight, I've got a question for you guys. Do you think he knows about Blast and God and everything? because maybe not like Sitch telling him, but if he can like hack into like the database of like hack into the database of the Hero Association, no problem. Do you think he's looked into what's going on really with Blast?
He has to have done that.
Maybe, but like if Sitch was the type of guy who opened up like notes on his computer and typed in, "Yo, damn, this is what Blast has been doing all this 20 years," then I'd be like, man, this guy is the worst person to have told that like secret to and to keep it as a secret. So I'm hoping he just kind of kept it to himself, didn't type it up on his computer, and therefore there would be no way for Bofoi to find out. There'd be no like technological way he could have found out besides like tracing or tracking or like having some sort of tag on Sitch himself where he could hear him. But unless he was like, actively infiltrating the Hero Association, I don't think he'd be able to find out.
Because didn't he say he wasn't getting involved with the Monster Association because there was something else he was concerned with? So it could be like something else different, but it could be God.
Yeah, it could be.
You think Meta Knight's involved with God?
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, well, it depends on what the other thing could be. It could, from Metal Knight's perspective, it could be a couple different things. It could be God. It could be he doesn't get involved with them because he sees internal threats within the Hero Association. And maybe he's keeping an eye on them, just like his initial response to Saitama wasn't, "Oh, I should go talk to him." It was, "I should keep an eye on this guy because I'm going to kick his ass if he ever comes up to my house."
I definitely don't see like Meta Knight is big time, but if there was somebody who's gonna be big time, I think it would be Meta Knight. And when I say big time, I mean like in reference to actually taking countermeasures up against God. Like Blast is big time, Sitch is big time. Period. Besides that, and apparently Blast's boy, and then his boys. I didn't know there was niggas out there like that. We'll get to that momentarily here. But if there was going to be somebody who was somehow through tech involved or knowing of or like has been sensing or detecting God, I don't think it would be Child. I would think it would be Metal Knight of the two. But I'm having a hard, cause I don't know, cause you're right. Like that whole mystery shit, it could be that, but
there's plenty of other things it could be. Like obviously the organization's the other big one it could be, because we know Metal Knight. Well, we assume Metal Knight's got some ties to the organization, so it could be that he's more concerned with the organization than the Monster Association. It could just be that as well.
I feel like the whole God thing is a good angle though, because just going off the theme, like we've seen this across media, the whole like religion versus science thing. I could definitely see Meta Knight being someone who's trying to, if there's a power out, like not if, but depending on whether he has that knowledge or not, if he knows that God exists, I think he would be inspired to create something that surpasses him. That's just from my impression of him.
Did you already go, Keishan?
Really know what to add to this. Let's see. You guys mostly covered the points for that pretty well. A lot of thought I hadn't even considered. What I love about the podcast.
So did Meta Knight stock go up at the end of this arc or after this arc, or because of any of this, or like he didn't like scoot up in rank in reference to the S class, right? Because of this, right? Like
no.
Or Did he though? Because he made a whole defense system that basically makes the entire A class obsolete, according to him.
You meant that? Okay.
Well, I mean,
okay.
anything. I mean, like I'm saying in general, like your opinion of Metal Knight amongst the S class in reference to like position, amongst the S class in reference to like strength, and like his stock. Has it gone up because of everything that's happened, including the arc and this portion of the story? Has it gone down? Okay.
He's currently ranked 6, right?
Something like that.
He's up there.
So Blast is in front of him, Tatsumaki's in front of him, Atomic Samurai's in front of him.
Bang was.
Bang is Bang was. Oh, so does that mean he's moved to 5? Damn.
We don't know yet. That's something we're going to be discussing here in 173. Because yeah, there should be some rank changes, right?
I'm pretty solidly thinking that he did not rank up because of these. Now, the notion that they would rank him up is highly probable, but given these chapters where Saitama just kind of walks in and destroys that shit, is showing that, fuck, my measures were not, great enough. That's going to be viewed very poorly by the people who are literally funding this shit.
That's a fact. But I like that you brought it up with that angle, because I was more so meaning like your personal rankings, like the way you personally rank the heroes in those 3 categories. Like, but the fact that you also bring it up in the story's context as well, I would also say consider that too.
He hasn't really moved anywhere for me. Like it just in terms of what he can do, like I've always thought he was higher than Child Emperor, even though their ranks don't indicate that. But yeah, like so in my mind, like where I would have Metal Knight, like I already thought he was capable of what he's shown in the chapter. It wasn't too surprising.
Actually stayed stable.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, don't get me wrong, bro. When it comes to these two, you already know I champion Child Emperor over Metal Knight. But I feel like we're downplaying the fact that they just said that this robot defense system is more competent than the entirety of the A class. Like, just one robot model was able or is able to fight 2 S classes at the same time. Like, are we underestimating him?
Exactly was he using as test subjects to... I assume they were actual demon threat monsters, but...
Yeah, here's the exact quote that was mentioned. This is shocking. My newly completed defense system was destroyed. The level 10 robots even had a proven track record of battling 2 previously captured demon level monsters simultaneously and winning.
Well, that doesn't really make a lot of sense, because how many of these damn demon level monsters does he have? Because it makes it seem like there's only 2, and his robots keep fighting the same 2.
Yeah,
and the robots are winning.
They're not killing.
Then that, well, that's not the objective here. We are to be killing the monsters.
I was gonna say, like he was going on about the accomplishments, but he just says suppressed, assist, participated. Like you giving yourself a trophy for participating? Like what the fuck?
He's a damn parent of the 90s.
By that logic, Monica is a fucking demon too.
Yeah, his logic's a little flawed there.
Matt Sundown, what's your stock looking like for Metal Knight?
Oh, Matt is going. Matt is going.
Oh
yeah,
okay.
He'd be back in a few.
Okay.
My stock for Metal Knight. I can't really say he's really gone up or down. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When they introduced these robots and said, yeah, like they were meant to be able to fend off multiple demon level threats, I was like, for real though? Like only demon level? After, like, it sounds kind of harsh, but it's like, dude, this dude is meant to be some bad geezer, and only demon level monsters is what he was catering for. After specific events over the last arc where we've had dragon level threats all over the shop, like the whole monster association was kicking the shit out of everyone, and that's his like capability. I mean, like, surely there's research, there's data that Child Emperor will have gathered, that all the other heroes will have gathered, that even probably Bofoi was gathering from some sort of satellite or something maybe he has, and none of that enabled him to make something better.
Think about it. It takes time to research and develop tech.
Yeah, to be fair, we don't even... It was this chapter where we actually got an official debriefing, as it were. Or, like, we had information on the heroes, officially, according to the data that was given to us by Drive Knight. Or, excuse me, on the monsters. According to the information that was given to us by Drive Knight. But this is technically still a debriefing that we just saw. So maybe Metal Knight hasn't been privy to... And you're right, I'm in full agreement with you. I would assume that his superior resources would give him not only separate or different information, because apparently he knew where the Monster Association base was before Child Emperor was even. Before Child Emperor did even. So, like, it's not like he's not capable, but maybe he doesn't have all the info.
It's not even just that. Okay, like I said, it takes time. How much time has actually passed between the end of the Monster Association arc and this moment of the debut, for us anyway, of those demon fighting robots?
We've got a time frame. Give me a minute.
Yeah, there was a time frame. It was like...
Project B class 43 days ago. Project A class 2 days ago. So it's like... Sorry, Keishan, what was the time you wanted to know?
How long has it been, presumably, that he would actually have been able to test this? So what, over a month?
No, I agree with you in that sense, Keishan, that I think this defense system was made before this happened, because didn't the assault... No, you're right. That's what Matt's trying to say, that like it's been a few days since the assault, or maybe even a few weeks, right? Or just a few days.
Yeah, I think like a week or two is probably what I would take from this.
Yeah, I would actually low-key... I'm pushing that in Sundown's court. I do think that would be enough time to like make countermeasures, especially in Metal Knight's case. But I do have a strong inkling that this defense system may have been active or implemented before this happened.
Yeah,
it's worded a different way. Okay, it's going to take time to develop just about anything, and considering this is a means of literal survival, you want to make that as, fail-safe as possible, right? And as efficient. So it's going to probably take, even if we say it has been 43 days, roughly, since the last arc ended, or whatever, or even if it's less than that. It means he's been doing this for a while, but the concept of a dragon level threat that's been out and about, and any of them that have actually, interacted with the heroes, they've been obliterated, so he couldn't have even gotten a test subject to even test a dragon level threat. So he's only been able to catch, lower ranked monsters. So this was potentially doomed to fail anyway. Kind of catch my meaning? He's a little behind because he didn't have any data. Like Boros, for instance. He wasn't, dealing with Boros on any level, and the data he would have really got probably was, post-mortem. So, not necessarily good training data for his robots. And then, I guess, if you want to consider, depending on who Drive Knight gave, Nian to, might mean that it possibly was Metal Knight, or he got some kind of DNA samples, you know.
This nigga said that Drive Knight's working for Metal Knight.
No, I said potentially. I'm just throwing it out as an idea. We don't really know why he captured Nian in the first place, other than, you know, we speculated could be weapons, could be, you know, countermeasures potentially in this case. I don't know. There's so much secret shit.
Drive Knight's X form in it.
Well,
He's gonna have cat ears on.
I call it Cat Emperor.
That would be funky.
Or Cat King, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. I don't know exactly how he would have been able to test against anything that, as far as they know, hadn't necessarily had enough information on to go higher than a demon. Because either Saitama comes in, obliterates the thing, or it doesn't stick around long enough, you know, in the case of, like, say, Elder Centipede, you can't get as much data on him because, hell, he just kind of comes and goes over long periods of time. He just disappears. So,
regardless of the case, Metal Knight knows about Saitama. The last thing he says is that he'll keep an eye on him. So, we know there's going to be some future context to that. We've now reached a point in the story where not only are there more characters, but prominent characters. Characters who are going to make a difference later on in the story, who could potentially seek Saitama himself in perilous situations because of what they've encountered or what they've now seen. Bullfoy himself said that Saitama may even be is S-class and may even be stronger. So, I think we have more to look forward to in reference to Metal Knight, and more to look forward to in reference to Metal Knight and the rest of the characters. But, let's get on to the good part of the story. 2 days ago, Sis calls a meeting with a certain number of people. What did you guys think about who he called to the meeting? Genos, a My Mask, Zombie Man, and Flashy Flash. Why these guys?
He called them all because they're cute.
Maybe that's what
I looked at the cover. I said, wait a minute.
These niggas cute.
I looked at the cover. I was like, wait, is he doing something where it's just all the cute people? Like, what's going on, bro?
Maybe that's a requirement to get into like Blast's like next level. You have to be like this good looking to join Blast Gang.
Maybe that's just Murata's art. I don't know, man. It could be a mixture of both.
Blast has been part of a boy band for the last 20 years. They've not been protecting shit, dude.
Woo. Yeah, in a rival idol group, that'd be a twist. Why this group of people? I'm trying to think. I'm actually not sure.
I don't know. I think Amai just kind of showed up because he wanted to. That's genuine, like, the context I'm getting from this, but I'm trying to skim through to see if he said, I called you guys here in particular, or if it's another, like, you're the only S-class who showed up.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
The latter is far more likely. Because they never get a full ensemble, so.
Yeah. Could it... Nah. I was thinking maybe like injuries for other people, but I don't think that's it either.
It might be because they've all afterwards, like, obviously Zombie Man would have reported stuff about God already, like, afterwards, and maybe if they just pure speculation, if they had like debriefings after from the Monster Association, if these guys at some point mentioned like something like God along those lines. It's just like, okay, bring these guys in for a meeting. We need to discuss this further.
I've always thought about that whole debriefing process, how that works, and like what the whole goal is. But yeah, it's, you think about it, you get all the different storylines, you get everybody to verbatim give the entirety of their storyline, and then you put them all together, see the differences, see the commonalities to build a full main picture of what actually happened here. And I think we're supposed to get the strong assumption that that's what Genos did here, to give Sitch the full picture. But I don't know. I don't know why they would choose these 4 particular people. Genos wasn't even supposed to go. Remember, I believe, because he wasn't trusted. Zombie was part of the main force, so my snut forced his way in there. So like, I don't know why that's going on there. And Flashy was out of the fight for the majority of the arc. So why these 4 people?
Yeah, skimming through, sorry, Kishan, I can't see an actual reason where Sitch or Second Girl say anywhere why. So it's up to speculation. Sorry about putting in, Kishan.
Oh, it's perfectly fine. The speculation I'm going to put forth here is, think of what these particular characters went through. Flashy, he was with Saitama when we first saw God. And Zombie Man fought a champion of God. And then, Genos, he probably talked himself into the meeting because, like, he knew, the previous timeline. So he was like, hey, I have some information. Can I
Genos literally has our perspective. I think I can definitively 100% say that's fact. Genos has our perspective as a reader. That's best. Basically, he has the full actual complete story of what happened.
He is us.
Yeah, like Genos knows exactly what happened here. So I definitely see him like forcing his way in there, as it were, or if not, being caught up himself, or saying that, hey, I have relevant info. And if it is the way that you were going, which I thought it was, all correlated around God, then yes, he would also correlate with God. Flashy would correlate with God. But I think that these people revealed their involvement in this chapter, so I don't think there is a clear reason why Sitch chose these 4 people. Maybe it is because they cute.
I mean, they're all loosely related with God.
I thought you were about to say, they all loosely cute, but
no. They're all loosely related with God because, like what Keisha was saying, with Zombie Man and his involvement with Homeless Emperor, a champion of God, Flashy Flash, we saw the God in the fetal position, Genos having the previous timeline, and then with Sweet Mass, he has some connection to Blast in the past. And obviously Blast has been battling God for 20 years, so they all have some connection to God in that way, but yeah, it's not like someone would know all of that to get them to meet. So, but yeah,
a debriefing like individually to get like bare bones information, and then anyone that was actually relevant to a bigger discussion, they would then gather those candidates together, which is what we're seeing now.
okay.
Kind of like what we do. We all react and stuff and do our videos independently, and then we come together for the bigger shit.
So let's keep it pushing. There was some fire in this part of the chapter. So here's a quote I'm going to read verbatim, and let's discuss it. Sitch says, because of the numerous reports we received of unexplained phenomena occurring during the recent mission to wipe out the Monster Association, there's a high possibility they are related to the previous "the Earth is in trouble" prophecy. Is this the evidence or the basis for our conversation earlier of establishing the connection between the weird things going on in God. 1 second. Sorry about that. Or is the unexplained phenomena occurring during the recent mission in reference to like the whole flashy Garou platinum thing? Is it in reference to like Tatsumaki lifting the earth and the earth cutting, stuff like that? Like the other side of the earth popping up? Like what happened? What recent events during the mission are a high probability of being related to the prophecy?
I just think it's God.
I think. Sorry,
go ahead. No, go ahead, Matt.
I think because like Sitch says, like later on in the chapter, when Blast sees God, like their senses couldn't pick up anything, and things just started to happen. It's probably those kind of phenomena. So like when God showed up to give Garou, like, you know, to give Garou the offer, like there was like the massive storms, and we saw God's footprints, but no one else did. So that's probably the unexplained phenomena where, like, out of nowhere, these massive storms are appearing, but there's no correlation or anything that would say why these things are happening. That kind of thing is probably what makes Sitch go, God's in play here, before anyone else comes to him with information.
All right. So I guess we can continue what we were talking about before, and also unravel the things that are coming up here. So anybody can turn into a monster. How important is it to really hide this information from the public? Like, they were discussing the different possibilities of how this could unravel, and the positives, or it's not even the positives, no, the complete negatives of this scenario. But is there merit behind Zombie Man questioning the true reasoning behind hiding it? Like, is it really okay to let people know that they could turn into monsters? Wouldn't it be beneficial to tell them? Maybe, because I don't think we're the only ones, or maybe we are the only ones who are correlating it to, like, emotions or whatever. Dr. Genius is the one who actually pointed out what's really going on with why people are monster fighting. So, if we take that as true reasoning, then shouldn't it be okay to eventually tell everybody what's going on so that they can control themselves?
I think it could also work in a negative way to where, I mean, there might be people like Garou who just want to be monsters. So maybe they would actually give in to their emotions because of something like that. I think there's like no right answer. Like, it's not exactly correct to just tell everybody, and it's also just, I guess, not right to keep this information a secret. I don't think there's any correct way to go about this whole situation. But I think it's just a secret that's eventually going to be exposed.
Very much a moral dilemma almost. Because it's like, on the plus side, we could potentially very much stunt the monstrous activities of people monsterifying. But then, as you said, there's people like Garou out there. I mean, in our world, you got terrorists, you've got just run-of-the-mill criminals. They'd be like, hey, I can turn into a monster and do even more? It's like, yeah, that's a double-edged sword right there. So
yeah, but that's the thing, that the level, the quantity, and the intensity at which people are monsterifying is all increasing regardless. The fact that the Hero Association is just now getting a strong grasp of this idea and preparing to take action, it doesn't mean that this hasn't been increasing or hasn't been around for a while. That's what we were talking about earlier. So, like, that's where, to me, I think there's, even though it's just a quick little story point, that this is what they're going to do. They're going to hide the info until later on. It's not something to focus on greatly. I'm just pointing out that maybe this is something to actually consider, because the more these people know, the more people have the ability to at least have a chance to control themselves or anticipate these obsessions or mutations that can occur to force this. Anticipate the catalyst of monsterization or monstrification, however we're going to call it. Here,
I think
they're left blind.
I think the main problem from the Hero Association would be if they released information out to the public and said, hey, anyone could turn to a monster, how many people are going to panic knowing that they could potentially just freak out and turn into a monster that just rampages and kills? That puts people in like a bad headspace. You know, that could potentially lead to like a spike in monsterization. And the Hero Association's already got its hands full as it is. So if they let this information leak and all of a sudden a lot more monsters come around because a lot more people have got like negative obsessions or emotions, it's going to be too much for them to handle.
No, I get that, because that was the emphasis of what Sitch was saying as well. I'm just pointing out that even though that's not only a possibility, but a plausibility, we are still technically sitting with our hands crossed as the intensity and the frequency of monsterization continues to increase. We're still doing the exact same thing we were doing before. That's all I'm saying.
Quick question. Was their reasoning for not telling the public about monsterization, was it in response to regular ass monsterization, as in like people turn to monsters and that's about it, or was it a direct result of the kind of the Tenkaichi thing they had, the martial arts tournament, where like prominent martial artists were turning into monsters in the view of the public?
No.
Because they were eating monster cells.
It was in direct correlation to, or in response to Flashy's statement. Flashy says even the heroes have reported that it wouldn't be strange for anybody to turn into a monster at any moment. We should stay cautious. And that's when Sid says it's precisely because of that we should be certain about our information and countermeasures before we make anything public.
Yeah, my point is, why would the heroes say that? In terms of, have heroes been just like chilling around having tea and then random monsters pop up out of the cafe nearby or something?
I think so.
I think what they probably would be is like, they probably, because obviously they're on the front lines, they'd probably notice that there's not really like a necessary correlation between what makes a monster. So it's not like only martial artists turn into monsters or people who are strong. It's like, because as we know, monsters like to talk. So they probably hear them say all kinds of things. So for what they've seen, it's like anyone could become a monster, not just a specific group of people.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I suppose, yeah, in that case, yeah, Matt's kind of thoughts on it in terms of, yeah, notifying the public, you'd get that spike of negative feelings, negative mind frame, could result in a mad spike in monsterization. But then it doesn't really help out because people are monsterizing anyway. So is there really a correct approach? I think is what Kishin was kind of going for, and probably not. But I think the last thing you'd want to do is, if people are like, it's a situation of if it ain't broke, then don't fix it. So you'd rather have people monsterizing at the slightly increased rate rather than telling the public and having like a mad spike and having to like murder half of a city just because he said, oh, by the way, if you pissed off today, you're probably going to turn into a crab. So don't do that.
In Sitch's effort to avoid Genos' Saitama sucking, and also inquire more things about, or more unique facts about monsterization, he questions Zombie Man about Homeless Emperor. Old boy homeless. Is Zombie Man gonna be the one to figure this out? He has the whole detective vibe to him. He actually went to Dr. Genus. He's the one that knows the facts about monsterization aside from us. Maybe even more so than Sitch, because we have no reason to believe that Sitch and the association has contact with Dr. Genus. The House of Evolution is Zombie Man's past, as it were before. So, Flashy encountered the cube. He knows a little bit about what's going on. Genos knows exactly what happens to everybody. You guys are speculating that maybe the thing that Meta Knight's paying attention to in the background may be God. But I think we're seeing Zombie Man's first inklings or first pieces of info from God right now. Is it likely that he's the one to figure out what the big mystery is behind the prophecy and God? Or like, is this going to be some like Saitama thing? Like, what do you... Go ahead.
Saitama's not going to be figuring out anything. I mean, like, if the man thinks that like Rover and Black Sperm are a dog or a monkey, like he's not going to be figuring out the mysteries of God. I'd be definitely cool if this is what Zombie Man's role is. Like, if he's literally like, if he's just in the background and we cut to him like every now and again, like put in like, and he basically drops some lore and info on us just to go, okay, I've figured out a bit more. I've done some research. I've looked over here, and of course he can go pretty much wherever he wants because he's Zombie Man and he can't really die. Like, he can just kind of do any dangerous thing that maybe no one else normally can. So if we just keep cutting back and forth for Zombie Man, and he's like, even like if he's got like the board up with like the pins in it and like the red string trying to connect everything, I'd be cool if that's what Zombie Man's role is.
Yeah, I think he'll get close, but there are too many things he simply doesn't know yet. So the whole prophecy thing with Orochi being, or some form of Orochi being, sacrifices a vessel for God. I don't think any of them even know about the existence of that. The only person that would have probably have seen it was Saitama, and there ain't no way he's gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember that painting. I just don't think that's gonna happen. So yeah, maybe he'll be the one that's closest, like putting two and two together. But once again, he's also the one who's experienced the least of it. Flashy being the person who actually heard God telepathically, I think. Telepathically. With, was it Manako and Saitama? So maybe it might even be a combined effort where him and Flashy kind of separately come to different conclusions, come back and figure out something together. I mean, there has to be more to the fact that, you know, these 3-4 heroes specifically were chosen to be here, and they kind of came to this conclusion already together. So maybe it will be something to do with them having a little bit of a combined effort.
I mean, this portion here is kind of straightforward. We're basically correlating what Flashy heard from the cube, and this is actually, no, this is important, so we can try to put a complete picture together, because Sitch was talking about there are multiple cubes that are giving people power. That's what was said later on in the chapter. So Flashy says that thing was trying to grant us power. Well, first he questions Zombie Man, and he says, at that time, did you happen to hear anything being said to you telepathically? Questioning whether he was offered, because Flashy was offered. He says, that thing was trying to grant us power, and if the vessel was not worthy, they would face forfeiture, it said. It was communicating directly into our minds. And then Zombie Man correlates that with how Homeless was acting as he was dying. So, I was thinking earlier, does the cube have to be around? It doesn't. Homeless didn't have a cube around him, or did he? Garou didn't have a cube around him, or did he? Sairochi and Orochi didn't have a cube around them, or did they? Like, Homeless didn't have a cube around him when he was getting clapped, and when he got turned to salt. Like, so that's why it's weird that these boxes, like the importance of these boxes, because at first, yeah, that's what we saw. Didn't Tatsumaki get offered too around a box or something like that, or no? There wasn't a box around. She just God just came and offered her. So yeah, so what's the real purpose of these boxes? Is it more than just offering power? Because principally, we've seen God offer people power without the box. And now it's just talking about, oh, these boxes primarily give power. So what's up with the boxes? Should we actually question the boxes? Or should we just, for now, go with what Sitch is saying they're involved with or associated with?
Do you think, just like, this is me just thinking off the top of my head, that, like, the cubes are basically like a monster cell? Where, obviously, like, we know, like, monsterization is, like, we talked about it a few times, it's, like, the way to become, like, a really powerful monster is through natural monsterization, but, like, a monster cell is just kind of, like, a quick way around it with less benefits. So, do you guys think that maybe that's what that is? A cube is, like, a quick way to make a deal with God, but the way to really make a deal with God is through, like, the contact that he'll bring to you when you're at your lowest point.
It could be that. I was thinking like the cubes are just more of a way like the spread the word more readily than just God being there himself, because like God communicating with everybody in that arc could just make sense just because God was in the area. And like I said, the cubes is just, they're just like, God doesn't have to be present for that necessarily.
The only, because I'm gonna let you finish. Damn, I feel like Kanye, bro. The only thing is that there wasn't a cube around Homeless, and God came down to him. And as you were speaking, I was thinking that, yeah, he's also gone to almost everybody in a different form. To Tatsumaki, he took Blast form. To Sairochi and Orochi, he took the form of like a planetoid or like a big space thingy. Yeah. I guess Flashy and Saitama, or we saw his like real body, or what we want to call his real body. Who else? Garou saw Bang. I think that's everybody.
And Blast saw a ball as well.
Yeah, Blast saw the same ball. Homeless was like, it was like a wispy kind of like, it almost like it was like a kind of like ghost like string, really.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
maybe it's like the black box. So if we imagine it as when you encounter the black box, it's like having like a direct like phone call with this God character. And then in other instances, like with Homeless, it's more like God going and like knocking on the doors of these people he wants to interact with personally. So if you find the box, it's like, hey, hello, it's me. You want some power? And it's like, okay, yeah, that sounds pretty nifty. But then otherwise, it's just God kind of walking around, finding people he's interested in. Like, hey, that's someone I wanna bestow this power upon.
And with the forms, like, I mean, obviously, we know God wants to make these deals because it gets his influence in the world. So for like Blast and Bang showing up as Garou and Tatsumaki, it's because he wants to try and trick them into taking the deal. Whereas maybe for someone like Homeless, who, Homeless was going to kill himself, he had no one maybe, so it didn't really make a difference to what form he took. Because it's not like he would have been like, oh, I'm showing up as Homeless Emperor's mom. Because, maybe that's who cares about the most in the world. Maybe Holmes had no one to care about, so he just showed up as like a generic form.
God is a catfish. Confirm.
That'd be the best episode of Catfish. If he just shaved, like, you knock on the door, oh no, it's an evil son.
Oh, you got me.
Oh no, it's God.
Are you guys still friends? Well, he made a deal with me, and now I'm a dragon level threat. So, I guess we keep in touch.
Let's see. There was an idea going on in the community here that there are multiple gods. I don't know if this phrase here is enough to debunk that, but that's what I thought of. Flashy says, if we take the cause of Homeless Emperor's death to be this forfeit, or forfeiture, we can assume we both encountered this same god.
Ooh.
You got an opinion about that, bro?
I mean, my opinion on that is they know very little about the situation. So they are going they are saying maybe there's multiple gods. They're keeping an open mind about it more than anything. I don't think there's necessarily saying there's multiple gods confirmed. They're just saying, this same god, because they could, for all they know, they could be like God A and God B.
Were y'all surprised that Sitch knew about God? Does that give more credibility to this prophecy shit?
I was a little surprised, I'm not gonna lie, but it makes sense.
I was legit surprised. It does make sense.
Yeah, I mean, someone had to know why Blast wasn't there, and we were always dealing with Sitch, so it was a surprise. But then when I thought about it, I was like, yeah, it's actually not that surprising, but it is pretty cool, and it does make sense.
Yeah, and it because we've been speculating about how we understand Blast has the power, but it was also always a question of how does the Hero Association understand that he's worthy of being unquestionably S-class rank 1? But now it all makes sense.
I wasn't surprised that Sitch knew. It was more I was surprised how he just came out and just talked about everything. He just right, there's no point in hiding this from you guys anymore. I'm just going to tell you everything that I know about God. I was surprised at his openness rather than his knowledge.
Yeah, it's kind of once he heard about them talking about God, he was just like, yep, it's time for these guys to actually know more about him.
I mean, you can see it. You can see it when My Mask goes, God, it's all the powers. Sitch just starts sweating there, and everyone else is just like, oh, who's this? And Sitch is like, oh, dear.
It's kind of random, but it kind of just amazes me that Genos is a relatively new hero, and he's been trusted with all of this. They're S-class, so obviously they're going to have a lot more responsibility than everyone else. But like I said, he's the newest member, so him being with sitting there with the big boys, he is a big boy, obviously, but damn.
I think it's just what we all saw, his efforts in the Monster Association had to prove to everyone he's not a traitor. Everything he did there had to make people go, we can trust this guy. He's not trying to betray us.
And he probably has his Tatsumaki cosign now.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, if Tatsumaki and King are both going Genos is sound, then you can't really argue with it.
So, Blast knows about God. And he's talking about a prophecy. This whole time, he was more informed than anybody else. Is it okay to entrust this to Blast alone? Again, later on in the chapter, they say that Blast hid this from everybody because it would be at least a little bit safer. Sure. But, coincidentally, as Genos points out, because nobody else knew about this, Saitama couldn't help. Are we to pretend that things wouldn't have been different? Like, I'm not trying to point anything out. We don't have to even discuss this point. I'm just saying that I want to see more about what Blast can do and why he's the solution to all of this. What was happening before 20 years ago? You've been searching for this for 20 years? Like, why were you searching for these? Like, later on in the chapter it says, that box, huh? It has been handed down over time as a kind of communication device with this god. What some would call a type of 00 port or part. I don't know what that is. He had been collecting them and together with his collaborators attempting to analyze them. Like, what was the first encounter with God? And I'm not talking about the when EC showed up. Like, how did they start searching for God? Does it say that here? Am I missing it?
No, it doesn't say. Like, it's a lot of questions, because how old was Tatsumaki? Do we know how long ago it was when Blast saved Tatsumaki? Was that 20 years ago as well?
It probably was.
Yeah. Because didn't he have a box with him back then?
Yeah, so about the time he started going after God is also about the same time where he saved Tatsumaki. Like, it's a really difficult one to answer. There's a lot of... This chapter gives us answers, but it also gives us a lot of questions. Just like, why things have to... Like, Grim, you're absolutely right in the sense of why Blast? Like, why did this guy have to do it rather than anyone else? Why does he have to do it alone? Like, why is he the only person, as far as we know? Well, he has a partner. He may have had a partner. Like, why... Well, it's probably to do with the partner, actually, Grim, now that I think about it, because, like, the theory of the partner being, like, not around or dead is there, too, because the partner's wearing sunglasses. Blast wasn't wearing sunglasses in the past. When Blast showed up again, wearing a very similar pair of sunglasses, you know? Maybe it's a pride thing because he doesn't want to, like, lose anyone else, so he feels like he has to do it on his own. But, I don't know.
Yeah, and actually, when Blast first went to that compound where Tatsumaki was being held, and he found that box, wasn't there some like shady monsterification stuff going on there as well?
There were some experiments. I don't know if it was like it was man-made stuff though. That's the thing that, like, we can't attribute every single form of monster or problem to God.
Mm-hmm.
As much as and as credible as a theory like that is, because I still think and I still support somewhat that idea. I'm still acknowledging that, like, Dr. Genius made monsters, Psychos made monsters. There are other things out there as well, like that one Dr. Fukugawa or whatever made beefcake or whatever. We have those different instances, and I can't just say that they were born out of, like, God influencing these people, but they did talk about a cube being passed down through time to communicate with God. They said that. So, is it a bad translation, or should I be asking how long is that time period? Are you talking about ancient times? Are you saying that there was a cube back then? Is there a cube in that mural or that prophecy picture that was on the wall? Like,
yeah, I suppose that's similar to what I'm thinking as well. Because, like, the reason why I asked that question was because that box was found at that compound, and I doubt the scientists weren't aware. It suggests they were using the box, or at least analyzing the box themselves. So does that suggest that other people are aware of the box outside of the Hero Association and Blast? And if they are, that's probably where a lot of this kind of lore is coming from, in the sense of these people seem to be aware of the box, using the box for whatever reason. How did they know about it? Who told them?
I swear I didn't even think about that when the chapter came out. That Blast broke into that place for the box. Tatsumaki happened to be there. Or did he come for her specifically?
I think it was a bit of both. It was a bit of both, wasn't it?
He probably came. He came for the box, but he saved the girl that was in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or foresaw her potential. Maybe he could sense the power within. Also, some quick wiki research. The OO part that's kind of confusing everybody. It stands for out of place artifact, which the box definitely is. It looks very high tech, but in a, our modern society, it's like, what the hell is this thing? But it's been around since ancient times too, so why the fuck does this box exist? So, very much fits in the criteria there.
So, chapter 173, page 21, you see a certain character who we just finished discussing. You see his outfit that we've seen a majority of times. And you see the face that we've seen quite as much. Just as much. Now, does that face look well? No, it does not. Not only does it look surprised, but it looks tired. And scuffled up.
Okay.
And hurt. And bloody. And that outfit, that suit, it looks tired. And dusty too. Beat up and beat on. Now, what does this say? The dialogue here on page 21 says, however, finally, 2 years ago, while Blast was battling Elder Centipede, when I look at EC ain't hurt. EC ain't scuffled up. EC ain't beat down. EC ain't tired. Was EC clapping Blast?
He was giving him work. That's for sure.
2 points. Well, Blast obviously got jumped by Junior and Senior Centipede before this.
They're the ones who did that.
Absolutely, mate. Melbat struggled. Why not Blast?
Dog. When I make the same observation, I already know where you're going this ground. I don't think I'm on the Grimmage stream, but when I mentioned this in my live reaction, people were so quick to defend Blast.
Yo, bro, this
is Grimm's favorite part of any podcast. It happens every time. Everybody watching, welcome to the Elder Centipede segment of the podcast. Where Grimm gets a solid 5 minutes to talk about Elder Centipede. Maybe. Hey, Grimm, have you thought that maybe all the bits underground, maybe that's not the rest of his body. Maybe that's all sliced up. Maybe Blast sliced up all his body.
Yeah.
There you go. Maybe that's a thing.
Oh, so he was a lot longer before, huh?
Parts are connected.
Yeah.
Man. I was just like, yo, you don't got to defend Blast. I understand he's strong. They were like, yo, they're like, this was 20 years ago. He's a lot stronger now. I was like, all right, bro.
Nah, nigga, nah.
Like, also, right. Hang on. To be fair, it wasn't 20. This was 2 years ago as well. So,
whatever their whole point was like he's stronger now. I was like, all right.
Yeah, nah.
He's wearing sunglasses now.
Because I wasn't even like I wasn't really trying to trash Blast like that. Maybe I was. Maybe I'm lying. But Elder Centipede is just legit. That's it. We've been on this because
Yeah,
he ain't kill him.
Exactly, bro. I'm telling you, bro. What are we playing about, bro? Come on, bro. Come on. Like,
I'm always curious how, like, I'd be curious how this exchange actually ended, because the way they always made it sound before was like Elder Centipede ran from Blast, but maybe it was because of like God's interference that like something else happened.
yeah, they made it seem like Blast or like EC escaped, but no, that doesn't seem to be the case here. This was a fight. This was a fight. And this is like, the reason why I mention this is not just because I'm hyping up EC, because I do get to do that. That does give me the right to do this. But there's actually some real cred, not just troll, behind what I'm saying. We talked about earlier about why did Blast get to do this on his own? We questioned that. We credibly, seriously, and with the evidence that we have right now in the story, we said it's okay to question why Blast got to do this on his own. There's an entirety of the S-Class there capable. Why is he doing this on his own? Literally, the entirety of humanity is subject to this threat by God. And Blast is dealing with it on his own. Obviously, we're talking about the new revealed characters who are assisting him with it. But in reference to the association, the strength and force we have behind the association, and even till this day, because once again, what's going to happen in the future is that they're going to seek out Saitama to help in this threat, and it's going to be the exact same case. The new forces of the association are strong enough to assist. So I'm saying, at any point, they could have added more forces to Blast's efforts to help make this more plausible. I'm not saying it would have helped. I'm not saying that anybody's near Blast's level. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying that, why did Blast choose to do this on his own? Because he's always been very capable. That's what I'm saying. So the individual who fought EC, yes, he was above dragon level. A nigga who was above dragon looks like this on page 21 of chapter 173, bruh. Looks like that when fighting EC. That's what I'm pointing out. Yes, I can't say... No, there's nothing that I can't say, bruh. This nigga's in the air flying, bro. In the air flying. In the air flying right now, bruh. Scuffled up against EC. There's nothing to pretend about.
So, maybe to jump on okay, this might build up EC even more for you, Grim. But I am very much of the belief that when someone is at their lowest point, that's when God shows up. And generally, when someone's at their lowest point, they get what takes a power.
Easy, we're about to kill Blast! Oh, Matt!
Oh my god.
Matt! Who? Nigga, did you write this?
You done messed up, man.
Did you?
Mate,
Bro! Bro!
Looks like a anagram for one.
This
So-
nigga was on his deathbed and God was like, hey, yo, Blast, I see you getting clapped, bitch.
Touch my hand.
Oh, shit.
He
Yo.
straight kissed his ring.
His EC doesn't look any different.
Matt, the dialogue literally says, he came in contact with God directly, bro. He refused the transaction of power. Bro. Confirmed, Dick. Confirmed. He was offered. Confirmed he was offered. And how do we know niggas get offered? What's the most common correlation, bitch? Niggas in their feelings. Blast was like, oh shit, I'm about to get clapped, bro. I can't get clapped out here. I'm the only one out here stopping God. Them! God comes out of nowhere. Hey, Blast. Why don't you help me instead of trying to stop me, bitch? I got you, bro. Here you go. Damn,
I mean,
that's...
It could also be because the entire city they seem to be fighting in has been leveled. So
That
maybe
is
Blast was
absolutely
feeling.
true as well. So it may not even be
was feeling a
Blast.
bit- Yeah.
It could be like that millions of people are dying and they're not particularly great about that.
But the first one sounded cool.
It sounded cool until Grim. I know what I was saying, man.
Bro, that's crazy, bro. Damn, you heard it here first, bro. You heard it here first, boys. Blast was out there getting clapped so bad he was on his deathbed, bro. He had a whole Garou scenario, bro. Garou was out there, damn, I've tried everything. I've tried everything, God. I'm out here getting clapped seriously. Is he about to destroy my dreams right now, effortlessly, bro? With his bald-headed ass? And then God came out of nowhere and was like, hey, yo, Garou, I see you getting clapped hard, bro. I got you. Same thing happened. Same thing. Blast was out there, bro, teleporting niggas to other planets and shit, bro. Deflecting EC's tail whips and shit, bro. Sending it to the upper atmosphere. And it still wasn't enough. He was still getting clapped by EC, bitch. EC was about to pincer his ass and do that thing to him. Until God showed up. That's what's gonna happen in the anime.
Word?
Yeah.
You think they're going? Okay.
It's going to be a 3-episode fight of Blast versus Elder Centipede.
Oh God, bro. Literally on God.
Bro, somebody said it's a rumor that JC Staff doing One Punch Man. I don't.
Don't ever say that again. Don't ever say
bro.
That. Don't ever.
I didn't say it,
again, bro.
I didn't say it. Dog, if they have JC Staff, we might as well just that's it.
Mate, I'm sorry. We were talking about Satsuki. That was like in the last latest episode of Chainsaw Man, where he's like, "I'm gonna use the sword." She's quickly just like, "Don't use the sword." Like,
oh yeah,
JC Staff might be. Don't ever say that again.
No, that's one of the worst. That's like one of the most like terrifying things you can tell someone, that your favorite series is going to be animated by JC Staff.
Oh shit!
Like even Studio Period is.
If we feel low enough, you know, maybe God will show up and be like, I can give you a fervent wish.
Ooh. What you want bones on this?
Hey, bro, I didn't give context to this, but now that I'm rereading it, bro, check these two phrases out and tell me what you think. Sitch says he refused a transaction of power and pitted himself against God. Then if you skip down, this is what Sitch replies to Genos. He says, No. The only reason Blast was able to do battle with God is because he's a person with the ability to manipulate space-time. So, when God came down to offer Blast, did he fight him instead?
Blast?
Yeah.
I feel like that's what the story is trying to. Yeah, I feel like that's what we're led to believe, yeah. Because for some reason, Blast just didn't finish the fight with Elder Centipede, so I feel like that's why.
So my guy got like
shit.
teleported to another dimension. God was there like, hey, buddy. Think the fight there? Maybe it wasn't even Blast's blood that was running down his face. Maybe it was Elder Centipede's blood.
My god.
Ayo, what, bro?
What? Come down. Sitting there waiting, analyzing.
What type of credulous ass shit was that, bro? Like, who? What? When have you seen EC blood, bro? What's going on?
That makes sense. Here? I mean, why would Blast? This was 2 years ago.
Nigga,
Blast, there's no way.
Big cat, bro.
No
what?
way. This was 20 years ago. Blast was dealing with like above dragons. Why would he struggle with Elder Centipede?
Niggas really said that's EC blood. That's crazy.
Easy work for him, man. He was out here trying to fight God.
The Blast.
And he was like, "Hey, wait a second, man. I'm dealing with another dude. With this dude who's gonna grant me fervent wish and all that type of stuff, bro." Easy work.
That's what he did. He said to him, "I'll teach you a second. Let me wipe the CC blood off my face." Great. And then when he speaks to Sitch at the end, he's like, "Sorry, I got God's blood on my face." It's like, what a guy.
He was offering me some Geico car insurance. I said, "Hey, not today, man."
These niggas pretending, bro. What is this stuff?
We're analyzing the story, Grim. Respect our opinions.
Oh shit. No, there's definitely a lot to go on here. Also, all jokes aside and shit like that, it was nice to see a callback or at least a physical drawing of Blast and EC together. That was badass to see. Regardless of what implications you want to draw from it, it's really cool to see how involved God is in the storyline so far, and like the plot behind it. There's still even more to discuss. We still have more to discuss here about this that we're gonna get to momentarily. But I just want to point out that so far, the fact or all the different dimensions of this mystery that we're getting a lot more of, or that we're seeing the complexity of, and we're able to connect from the beginning of the storyline and speculate all the different instances where this theory, this prophecy, even this like scenario of monstrification has been involved or been showing up since day one. We had no idea it was right in front of our eyes. That's badass. That's badass to me. It's almost the reason why I say it's more than likely. It almost has to be the fact, or a fact, that the reason why people are monstrifying more often is because of God. I think that has to be the case, or the series is saying that. So, Genos tells them about Saitama. The narrator literally says, he spoke to them about what happened during the battle with Garou, between Saitama, Garou, himself, and the other heroes. About 4 hours later.
You know what I'm talking about? Real supporter, real friend. Hype your mans up for 4 hours. Let me tell y'all the story of Saitama. Give that man a promotion.
Like Grim the Centipede.
What I love about this just whole story, it's just them actually like breaking it down, like just like. But you say like he flew to Jupiter, destroyed it, and came back, and he's what, A class? And the general should have just been like, no, he sneezed Jupiter and destroyed it. Then he traveled back in time. Like, I love, like, when you put it like this, of course they're not going to believe his story. That's what I love so much about it, is like, he's really speaking the truth, and he's generally trying to be like, listen, you tell Saitama what's going on, this problem gets solved. But of course they're not going to believe him.
What I liked about the Jupiter part was, I think was it Sitch, or was it maybe one of the other heroes? Maybe it was My Mask. The planetary thing wasn't an issue for them. They were just like, oh yeah. But only King has used the moon as a punching bag, and I was like, wait, that's your reasoning for saying that he couldn't have flown to Jupiter?
I don't know if they're trying to say like the mark on the moon is because of King.
Yeah. That's what they're saying.
It's so good.
It's crazy how you can literally tell people, show them proof that Cape does that thing, and they won't believe you. I guess it's really clever on one's part that this character, this trait that Genos has had since he first got introduced, since he first met Saitama. Remember the big funny bubble that we saw in the anime and in the manga of Genos taking way too long and talking way too much to Saitama about his past, and he didn't give a shit about it all, just super quick. That's this. That trait about the character has been the entire time. It's so badass that one is using that exquisitely to convey the truth of the arc to these characters, and they're gonna question it. It's not only fitting of One Punch Man, but it keeps the mystique, and I keep using that word. It keeps the mystery behind what's gonna happen next, because you can predict definitively what would happen next if they just believed him. But here we don't know. It's like that they were not even gonna believe him. Like, we know, like, for example, the I think the bearded worker in the association, he has an inkling of what Saitama can do. I think one of the girls there does too. There are people who are somewhat aware of what's going on, but when is Sit gonna get it? That's the one that I'm really excited for. That's the one who I think it actually matters. That's who I think would be most satisfying to me. Once Sit really acknowledges or understands that, hey, Caped blew away Jupiter, then it'll be okay. How do you guys feel about Garou losing his memory? I know that happened a few chapters ago, but it got brought up here in reference to maybe questioning Garou to validate the story and how they would do it. That same method is also, I think, what Garou mentioned or suggested in reference to jogging his own memory. Maybe even getting stronger that way. So, is that what we're going to see in the future? Whenever there's a perilous situation and we need help, we need somebody to come help us, and Garou is in need of a boost, as it were, and we're going to have him fight Caped, maybe even Flashy, maybe even Darkshine. Who else did he mention? Platinum, I think.
Yo, hold on. So wait, what's the question exactly?
Are we gonna see Garou fight the heroes again in order to get stronger, or as a tactic that the Hero Association uses to get him stronger for a future fight?
I doubt. Well, the last thing that you mentioned is kind of interesting. Just so like he would be able to have like their techniques in his arsenal, but I mean that's actually interesting. But nah, I don't think we're going to see him become like a villain again. I think like I've been speculating since we've been getting into like the fight with him and Saitama. I think he's gonna be along the lines like a vigilante or something like that, an unofficial hero. I think that's where his role is going to be in a story. So we'll see him fight again, but it's not going to be in a light of a villain. But like you said, him fighting the heroes to kind of get their techniques, that's actually a pretty cool thought.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see Garou. I don't see Garou actually like fighting the heroes again. Also, probably because we don't know how much he's actually retained from like those fights. Because obviously he doesn't have his monster form anymore, but he fought most of them pretty soundly. At least it was only like the last real bit is all he really forgot. So yeah, I just think Satsuki's right about this one.
This panel though.
Saitama is summoning God here. Wrong? We talked about that earlier. Final statement. Saitama summoning God here.
Looks like it.
It's definitely the indication. I can't say like that's it definitively, but that's definitely what the story wants us to believe.
Yes. There's more to it, like you guys are saying, but It's everything's pointing that way.
Well, that was pretty much it for the chapter. Zombie Man starts to contemplate if Saitama is the guy who Dr. Genius was talking about. Flashy tries to give Blast his number, and Gino says that the only countermeasure you need is Saitama, which I really believe Sitch will take that into consideration. Besides that, I think we're left off with a pretty good spot here. Amai is aware of Saitama, not only to a certain degree with the story that Genos just told, but seeing the actual scene that happened here at the association. I hope we don't go into an Amai arc because Amai's cheeks, Amai's trash, and I told you I wouldn't be talking about that chapter. Yo!
Run
What a good
from it.
podcast.
It will happen.